So, welcome. I'm very sad that I can't be there in person today, but I'm glad to have the opportunity to talk to you virtually. I'm Stephen Airey. I work for the European Space Agency, and my job is to help countries like Latvia on their journey to integrate into the European Space Agency. And what I want to do today is to give a summary of Latvia's journey to become the newest member of the European Space Agency, which occurred last year, formally on the 29th of July. So I'll start with a first slide here, which summarizes your overall journey so far. It started with a cooperation agreement that we signed in July 2009. And the cooperation agreement just allows exchange of information, allows us to get to know each other. There's no budgets or developments attached to that. But it paves the way then to make the next step, which was as a European cooperating state and part of the PECS program. So we signed that in March 2013. And then put that into place and started running activities as of January 2015. And the PECS program is a program that is designed to build capability in space within the country for us as ESA to get to learn the country, learn your capabilities much better, and for you in Latvia to get to learn about us in ESA, how we do business and the space environment and the space industry in Europe in a safe environment, but with an associated development budget. And that budget was approximately 1.5 million euros per year for a 5-year period, where we ran open calls and we did a number of activities that we'll get into the details of later in this presentation. Then after this first period of PECS, which I have to say was very successful because a lot of countries that have joined ESA have needed more than one period of PECS, have needed 2 or 2.5 periods. But after just one period of PECS, Latvia was in a position to be able to apply for associate membership of ESA. And that associate membership was granted last year and was formally ratified in what I think is a record time. Took less than 1 month to ratify an international agreement by your parliament. So very well done on that. And it entered on the 27th of July last year, entered into force. And that marks the next big step in Latvia's journey into space. Now a member of ESA, an associate member of ESA. The budget that has been allocated to space development has increased quite considerably. It's currently at 3 million euros per year and likely to even expand further. And who knows what will happen into the future. But now I want to take a bit of a look back on this 5-year period of PECS. What happened? What did we do? Who did we work with? And what results did we get? So the objectives of PECS I try to cover here. We have these 6 main objectives. So the first one was to ensure that Latvian industry is developed to the point where it's able to compete against other European industries and win open competitions to secure getting back to Latvia the contribution that Latvia makes to ESA. And this is an objective that I think we've fulfilled, and I'll show you why later on. We have the objective to strengthen the Latvian industrial expertise, which we did with 50 contracts, training courses that were taking place in Latvia, and direct ESA technical support for each of those contracts. So ESA works in a different way to some other funding sources in that we assign technical officers to each of the development contracts that we let, and they work together with you, and they are experts in that field, so they can really help to bring along the development of your capabilities and awareness. We also have the objective to ensure that the developments that are done in Latvia are in line with what we see as being the needs of ESA in the future, and also the industrial landscape in Europe. So we're not wanting to build too much competition. We're looking really for where are there niche markets, where are there areas that are underserved in Europe, and how can we develop capabilities and competencies specifically to match and fill those areas. We also take the time to teach or inform the Latvian government about how ESA works, so that by the time it becomes a member, they can hit the ground running and know how to make the maximum use of their membership of ESA without first having to see how everything fits together, how everything runs and works, and they know what they have to do. So we accomplished this. We also did a number of trainings for the delegation, and we made the ESA work plans available. Aligning the ESA space activities with those of the ESA programs so that you can seamlessly participate in the ESA optional programs as associate member. And you'll see, I think we've done a particularly good job there, or rather you have done a particularly good job there. And we have the evidence of that with the success of the first 9 months of associate membership. We also need to understand, improve Latvia's understanding of ESA's organization. We're a very complex organization, and to navigate that is not a trivial task, but something that is essential if you're going to get the most return out of the investment that the country is making in the agency. This also, you'll see, has been clearly met, and Kaspars, your head of delegation to ESA, has had quite an intensive couple of years in getting up to speed, and is now very good at finding his way around the ESA environment. So well done to Kaspars. And we also look to develop cooperation between user communities, industry, academia in Latvia, and those that are existing already in the ESA member states. Because of the open competition nature of ESA, this is key that you know who to work with, who to cooperate with, and how to get into supply chains and get access to customers. And we'll also see some examples of why we've met this. And with ticks in all of these boxes, I think it's not surprising that the application for associate membership of Latvia was agreed unanimously by all of the existing member states. Now, during PECS, I'll give you a quick overview of who are the most successful entities in submitting proposals to PECS and in gaining industrial contracts to do development work. Some of these I'll go into in a bit more detail to give you some examples of particular success stories in later slides. But Eventec, the Foundation Institute for Environmental Solutions, have been working on Earth observation applications. RD Alpha working on radiation hard EEE components. Alatherm been successful in novel thermal management technologies, and also xenon refueling systems. MIKC, also Earth observation applications. And then you'll see that we've got also people working on specialist technologies such as green insulation forms for launchers, telecommunication systems, making use of existing infrastructure in Latvia, and also Riga Technical University working on looking at sandwich structures and thermal management courses. But what you can see, I think, is that there is a diverse range here of technologies that are including hardware that is intended to fly on the space segment, on the satellites, on the launch vehicles. It's also looking at ground station applications and operations. And on top of that, you have an area which is looking at how the use of space data can bring beneficial impacts to the government and to society as a whole. So it's a very broad range of technologies that have been worked on in Latvia, covering every aspect of what we deal with in terms of ESA, in terms of space, from space segment right through to ground applications. Another thing that I want to point out is the split of the work between research organizations and companies. So you see that we have slightly more companies than research organizations. This is a good split as far as we're concerned. We like to see a model where research organizations and companies are working hand in hand and have a mutually beneficial relationship between each other. Research organizations are very good at blue sky thinking, at feasibility demonstrations, and at studying and researching novel and new ways of doing things. Companies and industry are very good at productionizing such efforts, making them into products and services, and selling those at a very high and repeatable quality. And that is what generates the income, generates the revenue, and drives the economic engine of space. So this part is absolutely essential in order to generate the income, get the return on investment that enables new investments to be made with the R&D organizations and with academia. A virtuous circle, that's what we're aiming for. And we would like to see this cooperation continue. And we have also some good examples in Latvia of that working well. Another measure of the success of PECS is how many different organizations are registered with ESA. You have to be registered with ESA to be able to get access to the bidding documentation and any serious information, and in order to do business with ESA. First step is you need to register. As you can see, even before PECS, we'd already climbed to a few entities that had been registered. But during the PECS period, a very steady, continuous growth, up to now more than 50 different entities registered to do business with ESA. And we expect to see this continue to grow. Compared to the size of Latvia, this is a very good number, and it's well in line with what we see in established countries with higher GDPs. I want to give you a bit of a quick overview of how much volume of work we went through in PECS. So in total, we received 105 different technical proposals on every topic imaginable from more than 31 different entities. And as a result of that, we funded 50 different activities with 13 different entities. So an average, somewhere between 3 and 4 different development contracts per entity, which is a good number for us. We generally work on the assumption that you need to have at least 3 activities before you're really up to speed, gain the experience that you need both in working with ESA and in the technology that you're working with in the space environment. So this was another good sign from our side. Now, where has that money been spent? This is breaking down those activities into what we call service domains, but really you can think of them just as general groups of technical area. So the biggest one where we spent the most money was in Earth observation. So that's the use of data coming from satellites such as the EU Copernicus system, the Sentinel satellites, and using that data to generate applications that help farmers, for example, to be able to understand their land use and the land productivity, to help the forestry area, to help the government in determining water quality and water quality management. All of these things allow a global picture to be updated regularly without having to send huge numbers of people into the field to make the measurements directly. The next one was on the generic technology and techniques, and this is where all of the space hardware comes in. And this is an important one because this is the key access to be involved with and get hardware flying on satellites and on spacecraft missions. Now, I'm not going to go through this, and you probably are not going to be able to read it either, but the presentation will be available for you if you wish to look through offline. And this is a list of all of the 50 activities that we led. I have a number of them highlighted in green, and these are the ones that I will spend a little bit more time on and go through in a little bit more detail as some examples of success stories. Which leads us to the first success story, which was Sentilake. This is from the Foundation Institute for Environmental Solutions. And this is the precursor to demonstrate to the government that you can do remote monitoring of the water quality in the lakes in Latvia, enabling to respond to the European directives on water quality management. This was very successful, was completed last year, and is now en route to heading to a commercial service for the government. Moving on to the next one with Allotherm. Allotherm have developed, in fact, they developed two unique technologies. So one on thermal management with flexible heat pipes. But the one I choose to highlight here is the xenon refueling system, where they're working with OHB in Germany, who is the system prime for bigger development on the Lunar Gateway. And the Lunar Gateway is kind of an international space station around the moon and will act as a staging post for the next generation of lunar exploration and for astronauts to stop off and to do the descent to the moon and to come back. Because of that, it needs to, there is a European collaboration with the United States on that, and part of the European collaboration means that we need to be able to refuel the xenon fuel system online. And that is the aspect that Allotherm are doing. It's a very tricky thing to do and get the right doses with the right safety and security. But now we fully expect that they will be part of this program and be flying on the Lunar Gateway. Another one that I want to highlight is EventTech. So EventTech are a spin-off company from academia, and I think in this regard, this is really showing a model that we highly appreciate and enables the money that is put into research in academia to find a realization and a use and generate income and generate real return for the country. So this is a good example of that. EventTech started with specializing in highly accurate timing systems that are useful for a wide range of applications, actually, including debris monitoring, laser range finding, and LiDARs. And here it's going to be used on the Hera mission as part of an altimeter, again in cooperation with another entity in another ESA member state with EventTech. But this is a unique capability that we have in Latvia and is highly sought after. And I think the last example that I wanted to state is that Latvia already had a number of elements of infrastructure in the country that were being underutilized or not exploited as much as they could. And there's two very large telescopes in radio telescopes in Ventspils that we've been working to refurbish with VRAC and transform also into being able to provide TT&C, so communication services to satellites. They have now signed an agreement with the Swedish Space Corporation to provide this service commercially. And we're looking also to see about expanding this into other communication bands beyond X-band. The fact that these are large telescopes, so 16 meters in this case, enables them to see further into space and to get better signal to noise ratios. And this makes them very attractive for a number of different applications. So we hope to see much more use of this facility also going into the future. Now, for the last little part of the presentation, I think it's summarized a bit the activities that we performed under PECS. I want to say something about Latvia now that you're an associate member, especially because the route to associate membership was very fast, one period in PECS, but you see by this timeline here, this is the timeline from the application through to the ratification, which was really lightning fast. 1 month between agreement by ESA in council to ratification by the Latvian government, I think is almost unheard of. We're usually expecting 6 to 9 months for this. So a great sign of Latvian efficiency. But since becoming an associate member, we've really hit the ground running. And we did a lot of preparation before this in anticipation of it happening. And we started off immediately with delegate training. You now have a full set of delegates representing your interests in ESA, attending the boards, voting on the future of ESA, voting on the different programs that they comply with. We also got the Latvian subscriptions almost immediately to subscribe to the first programs like GSTP and Future EO, so Earth observation activities that correspond to the core competencies that were demonstrated within the PECS program. And so Latvia formally became part of ESA optional programs already last year, and are in discussions now for the first contracts in those programs. We also had some training courses that were already given. Part of associate membership is that we will, well, when COVID is over, we will be traveling to Latvia to talk with you much more intensively than we have been during the PECS period, but also to give a wide range of training programs to industry and academia on ESA standards, ways of doing business, how to write proposals, ESA programs, so that you're as up to speed as possible and as competitive as fast as possible with the rest of the existing European space industry. So we gave a number of these training courses already. I think I have, yeah. I want to give a quick overview then of what the subscriptions are so far from Latvia to the different ESA programs. There's a mandatory contribution which every country has to pay, which helps to cover the ESA infrastructure. But then the optional programs are GSTP, is General Study and Technology Program, covering the mid-range TRLs, TRL3 to TRL5 typically, for a wide range of different technologies and applications. But this is where the bulk of your development for new hardware that's going to fly on spacecraft will be done. Then there's Future EO, Earth observation applications is the focus here, building on the work like Centilake that we have seen presented a few slides ago. They also have made contributions to space safety and to E3P, which are there specifically to support the Latvian contribution and participation in the flight elements of the Hera mission and the Lunar Gateway. Now, this is almost unheard of to so quickly after becoming an associate member to be included on a flight mission with flight hardware is this is a real achievement and something that Latvia should be very, very proud of. It usually takes quite some years before we would reach that level and get the opportunity to fly on ESA missions with flight hardware. Partially also because of the duration of the development and the development life cycles of ESA missions, and partially because you have to be able to compete and win those activities and those bids. And this, I think, goes to show that we have some unique capabilities in Latvia that are highly interesting to the space industry as a whole. We're also discussing about setting up a business incubator in Latvia to encourage more startups and more spin-offs, especially these spin-offs from academia, to make use of that academic innovation. And then we have the RPA program, which is essentially a national program. It's open only to Latvian entities, and it's there to continue the work of PECS and continue to develop Latvian core capabilities and competencies so that you can be even more competitive in the programs that you already subscribe to, and that you can build competencies such that it makes sense to subscribe to other ESA optional programs and be competitive there as well. And we've already had the first call there, which is currently under review. And we had really a phenomenal response with a very large number of proposals. So this is a great start to the RPA program in Latvia. Oh, this one. I'm not going to go through these, but I want to point out that Latvia now has a the Latvian government to target the Latvian contributions and the Latvian use of ESA to maximize the benefit and maximize the likelihood of achieving the goals that are listed in the space strategy. So this, for us, is a very important document. And if you are interested in being involved in space in Latvia and haven't read it, then I would strongly advise you to go to the government website, download it, and to read it. So just to summarize then the what I consider to be really major successes in the very first few months of associate membership, getting onto the Hera program with flight hardware, that is key to the mission. Getting onto the Lunar Gateway program, hopefully, this is still in the final negotiation, but fully expect that we'll be on the Lunar Gateway program. Again, with a unique capability. So in order to conclude, I think Latvia has had a very fast journey from first contact with ESA through PECS and into associate membership, and a very successful journey so far. I think the PECS period, as I said, we had over 50 projects implemented. A number of those projects are already showing their success and being built on and are en route to be flown or en route to being commercial applications, which is really what we're aiming for and a key achievement. We have the space strategy, which is it's a difficult document to write and to get correct, but the fact that it is being produced, that it is extremely clear, and it's been ready on time to guide the investments and to guide the decisions made is a key element to that success. And in associate membership now, we see that we're already in a number of ESA optional programs already in discussions for the first contracts in those programs, and we're already looking to fly hardware on ESA missions. So all in all, I think that Latvia really has been a shining example of making stellar progress, if you'll excuse the pun, in the development of its space industry and its integration into the European Space Agency. And we are very happy and excited to look to a long future of working together with the Latvian government and with the Latvian entities. And that's the end of my presentation. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you.